where my passion came from was when I realized that people like these weird places that I go, or these things that I draw, or the things that I create. People enjoy them. So if I could share them and it gives them an inkling of the feeling that I had when I was doing it, that's fantastic. So I guess for the longest time I thought I'd be pumping gas. I thought I would be living in Canada, which is outside of Ottawa, and that's, back then it was more of a suburban nightmare than it is now. Now it's grown quite a bit, but I really thought I'd be at, you know, the local gas station pumping gas, or working at McDonald's or something. And then I had applied to Humber College for advertising graphic design, and I didn't get in, but I got a recommendation to come down to show my portfolio for the foundation year. And that's when everything sort of took off for me. Is like I took what I had done in high school and my art and my sketchbooks and stuff, took them all with me, and then they said, well, you've got a good foundation here, and that's really good to build on. I did a year of foundation. I loved everything I did. I did industrial design, interior design, package design, graphic design, and I scored on all of them, and I just still, like, that sort of threw me for a loop, because then I had too many choices again, back from like I want to be a pump gas to anything I want. So that was a really tough time, and that sort of taught me to focus my creativity and focus that my output. If I do that, then I can be really good at something, not just one thing. Sometimes I'll wake up and I'll be like, I gotta go to work, it's gonna get in the way of that idea I had, you know, and I want to draw and paint it, and then I'll sit at work, I'll sketch in meetings, I'll draw all day, like while the 1.5 gigabyte art file is loading on the system, I'll just sit there and start sketching on my sketchbook, waiting for the status bar to go. And yeah, that gives me, what, 2 minutes of sketch time, but I just, because I've been working in such small chunks of time for a long time, I can do things pretty quickly when it comes to sketching and getting ideas out, so I find it helpful, but it's also, I don't know, I don't want to make my life that compartmentalized, and that's sort of the path that I've come to. As I got to the point where everything's becoming compartmentalized, I realized that, so I want to change that and get into, remember the lessons I learned from high school onwards. A lot of people say, oh, you get your art from your mom and stuff, and I used to always sort of cringe at that, because I was like, no, I don't do anything that she does. And I think it just became that we were both escapists at a time, you know, and I think for me, I just wanted to draw the cool things I saw. Like when I first started practicing drawing, it started out by tracing comic books and picking my favorite comic book and tracing the characters. And I think it was Conan, Savage Sword of Conan, and I loved Buscema's illustrations in that. It's pen and ink work, which is why I'm really keen on pen and ink, but I really love that stuff. But when I just started expressing myself, and when I realized that I actually had it, yeah, it's practice. And I just spent so much time doing it that I became good at it, and people would say that you're born with it. But it's just I practiced earlier than most people, so it wasn't that I was born with it, I just spent an extra 2 years before other people realized that they should try it, you know? Like, so by the time I got to high school, I was really good because I practiced a lot since I was in grade 2 or whatever it is. Like, right, everybody has it though. It's finding the way to outlet it, because like once you pull the pin, you can't put it back in, and that's the thing with the creative output, is like you just let it go, and once you're comfortable letting it go, once you release the shackles, you're in for a ride. I mean, yeah, you'll still go through the artist problems of like staring at a blank piece of paper going, what do I draw, or what do I paint, or how do I write this paragraph, how do I start the story? Everybody's gonna have that moment, but it's in you and you'll find it. You just have to let it out. Like that's sort of what and like, yes, it's great having your friends tell you you're great and you can do what you want and you're a good artist and all that stuff, or you write the most amazing stories ever, but that doesn't help when you don't find the spigot. When you can't let it out, that won't help you. So it's finding that in yourself, and when you can turn it on and off, that's more invaluable than anybody blowing smoke up your ass. But as inspirations go, I mean, like I mentioned before, sort of as growing up is the influence of comics and serial illustration. That was huge for me. So a lot of the early artists that I really looked up to were that. But then as I grew older and started to appreciate more the fine art aspect, I mean, you start to pick up on, like, I love Mucha, he's got some fantastic illustrations, but I love like Albert Dürer, who's a very technically accomplished artist, but fuck is he ever awesome. Like he can draw a dandelion like no one else can draw a dandelion. Like, it just blows my mind, and I love that. And looking up to things and aspiring to be similar to, or at least technically proficient enough to achieve what they have achieved, a lifelong journey, and I love it. Like, I'll keep on that. So But yeah, I think friends really are the biggest inspiration and the biggest push, and the people that kick my ass are really the people that are like, just do it. Like my friend Susan she's always good at doing that. Brings out the meme of the inner self, and said like, that's why I got a drafting table. She said, well, you could do that this weekend, so do it. So that weekend I went out and got a drafting table, and then the next day I went to IKEA and bought a throw curtain for underneath the drafting table. Like it's just, I spent like the whole weekend setting up my drafting table, and then once it was done, I was like, holy shit, this is great, and I could dance in my living room around a drafting table, and I was like, that was so easy. That's the easiest thing you could do, and it was just a simple little kick in the ass. And then from there, I just kept, that got me some new paintings. I did some new drawings, and I just felt so awesome. And it's, pay attention to your friends. They're telling you good advice. You just have to listen. That's the hard thing. Everybody should create. That's pretty much the biggest one, and I find like as much as I can go on at philosophizing, it always tends to come down to, I think everybody should express themselves and create, and that I see is an outlet for a lot of people. I think art is one of the best things for people to do, because there's so many different mediums, so many different methods, and even using the same medium as anybody else, you can still create something completely different as long as you're expressing yourself. For the longest time, I'd have friends say, like, I wish I could draw like you, and I'm like, I ask them, are you expressing yourself when you draw? And they say yes, invariably, and then I say, you're drawing like me, because that's all it is expressing yourself. I just had a little bit more practice doing it. So I think that's sort of the key. And philosophy-wise of that is just really, we're here to create. That's why we're humans. That's why we have imagination, is to dream of things that need to be done.